Hi, this is Andre, and thanks for checking out Synthisophy. Synthisophy is integrating the wisdoms of history, based on fact and truth, into our current culture. Today, let's take a look at Chapter 4, Confirmation Bias. What is confirmation bias? Confirmation bias is a tendency of people to favor information that confirms their existing beliefs. Confirmation bias in society is the tendency to search for, interpret, favor, and recall information in a way that confirms one's pre-existing beliefs or hypotheses. It's a type of cognitive bias and a systematic error of inductive reasoning. People display this bias when they gather or remember information selectively, or when they interpret information in a biased way. The effect is stronger for emotionally charged issues and deeply entrenched beliefs, particularly politics and religion. People also tend to interpret ambiguous evidence as supporting their existing position. Bias search, interpretation, and memory have been used to explain attitude polarization. That's when a disagreement becomes more extreme, even though different parties are exposed to the same evidence. And there's belief perseverance, when beliefs persist after the evidence for them is shown to be false. And there's illusory correlation, when people falsely perceive an association between two events or situations, as is often the case in conspiracy theories. A series of experiments by a gentleman named Peter Wason in the 1960s suggested that people are biased towards confirming their existing beliefs. He's the one who coined the term confirmation bias to describe the tendency for people to immediately favor information that validates their preconceptions and personal beliefs, regardless of whether they are true or not. Explanations for the observed biases include wishful thinking and the limited human capacity to process large amounts of information. We are not computers, but computers cannot evaluate information, draw conclusions, and create an understanding of the world the way the human brain can. In psychology and the social and cognitive sciences, confirmation bias is a tendency to search for or interpret information in a way that confirms one's preconceptions, leading to perceptual errors. Confirmation bias is the reason for our knack for stereotyping. We do this for the simple reason that our brains cannot instantly process, nor has immediate access to tons of information so that in seconds we can draw a valid conclusion. So our brain takes those stereotypical shortcuts to draw a conclusion and make a decision. We do this and did this over the course of evolution, and survived as the only remaining human species. So confirmation bias is not necessarily a bad thing. As a matter of fact, it's a good thing. We wouldn't be here talking about it if it wasn't, so long as we are aware of this evolutionary and genetic predisposition. So as we can see, confirmation bias is a phenomenon wherein people have been shown to actively seek out and assign more weight to evidence that confirms their beliefs and ignore or underweigh evidence that does not confirm their beliefs. Let's take a look now at two historic philosophers and scientists, Francis Bacon and Charles Darwin. The English philosopher, statesman, and scientist Francis Bacon was laying the foundations for science when he addressed this confirmation bias in 1620. Here's his quote, Francis Bacon. The human understanding, when it has once adopted an opinion, draws all things else to support and agree with it. And though there be a greater number and weight of instances to be found on the other side, these we either neglect or despise, or else by some distinction we set aside and reject, so that our conclusions may remain inviolate. And such is the way of all superstition, whether in astrology, dreams, omens, divine judgments, or the like, wherein men, having a delight in such vanities, mark the events where they are fulfilled, i.e. confirmed, but where they fail, though this happen much oftener, neglect and pass them by. Here's another end quote. Here's another quote from Charles Darwin, who published the theory of evolution in his book On the Origins of Species in 1859. He was aware of his own confirmation bias, as he stated in his autobiography. Quote, I had also, during many years, followed a golden rule, namely that whether a published fact, a new observation, or thought came across me, which was opposed to my general results, I made a memorandum of it without fail and at once. For I had found by experience that such facts and thoughts were far more apt to escape from my memory than favorable ones. Owing to this habit, very few objections were raised against my views, which I had not at least noticed and attempted to answer. End quote. So as Wason coined, and Bacon and Darwin referred, let's be aware of our genetic predisposition to confirmation bias.